I stood frozen in my kitchen, clutching a certified letter from the HOA, my eyes scanning the word for the fourth time, hoping I'd misread it. A due law 500 fine for excessive outdoor decorations and unauthorized landscaping changes. My tiny patio had a single potted fern, and I hadn't touched the landscaping because, well, I'm a renter, not a homeowner. But it wasn't the fine that made my stomach churn. It was the signature at the bottom. Saw Jacob Miller saw. My name, scrawled in a shaky imitation of my own handwriting. Someone in the HOA was using Saw My Saw identity to slap me with violations. I muttered, "What in the actual hell?" as I studied the signature closer. This wasn't a mistake. This was fraud. I've been levying in Pine VYEW condominiums for about 9 months, a quiet suburban complex perfect for my work-from-home gig as an IT consultant. When I signed the lease, my landlord gave me a heads-up about the HOA. "They're sticklers," he'd said, scratching his beard. "Especially the president, Linda Harper. Follow the rules and keep your head down." He wasn't kidding. Within my first week, a typed note appeared on my door, politely informing me that my welcome mat VY-OLAT aesthetic guidelines, and had to go. I swapped it out, rolling my eyes, figuring it was easier to comply than fight. Then came more notes. Me friend's car lingered too long in the VY cider spot. My patio's windshield was unauthorized. As a renter, I couldn't join the HOA board, a rule I found unfair but couldn't change. It meant I had zero say in the petty drama unfolding around me, and the passive-aggressive notes kept coming. At first, I thought someone just had it out for me. I kept to myself, worked long hours behind my laptop, and barely knew my neighbors. But then the fine started. A due law 50 penalty for Leah VY-ing trash outside on a non-collection day, except I hadn't. I paid it, assuming it was a mix-up. Then a due law 100 fine for excessive noise after hours. I live alone, wear headphones, and rarely have guests. It was nonsense. When I tried to dispute it, I got a curt email, "Decision final, approved by board member Jacob Miller." The violations got wilder. Due law 75 for walking on common area grass. Due law 60 for my fern. Even due law 90 for parking incorrectly in my own assigned spot. Each time I pushed back, I hit a wall of automated responses, all pointing to Saw Jacob Miller Saw as the APRO VYing board member. My name, my identity, weaponized against me. Late one night, I pulled up the HOA's website, my coffee gone cold. There it was, plain as day. Saw Jacob Miller Saw, newly appointed to the violations committee. But the address listed wasn't mine unit 214. It was unit 307, Linda Harper's unit. My heart pounded as I dug into the HOA's online meeting minutes. 3 months ago, a motion passed to appoint a new violations committee member. Jacob Miller, unit 307, was unanimously approved. I hadn't applied, hadn't attended a meeting, hadn't even been eligible as a renter. Someone Linda was using my name to play dirty. The next morning, I fired off a formal complaint to the HOA board, laying out the identity theft and fraudulent fines. I expected shock, maybe an apology. Instead, Linda replied with a dismissive email, claiming all appointments were in order and suggesting I was confused about procedures. She ended with a veiled threat. False accusations could lead to more fines. That's when I decided to fight back, not with emails, but with my IT skills. I requested all documents tied to the Jacob Miller appointment, claiming I needed them for my records. After some pushback, they sent the application and emails. The application used my name, but a fake email, saw jacob.miller@songgmail.com saw. I'd never created it. With a friend's help at an Internet Pro VWriter, I traced the IP address. It led straight to Linda Harper's home. Digging deeper, I found she'd been logging into the HOA server remotely, backdating violation notices under my name to make it look like I'd been issuing fines for months. The final piece fell into place when I installed a discrete security camera above my door. Within 48 hours, I had footage of Linda creeping around my unit, peeking into my mailbox, and snapping photos of my patio like a private investigator gone rogue. This wasn't petty HOA nonsense anymore. This was systematic identity theft. armed with IP logs, forged documents, email metadata, and VY Denke. I marched to the police station and filed a report. The officer's eyes widened as I walked him through it. "This is serious," he said, scribbling notes. "Identity theft, fraud, the works." I also tipped off 2 HOA board members I'd had neutral run-ins with, sharing just enough EVY Denke to spark their curiosity. One, a retired accountant named Tom, promised to dig into the HOA's finances. The pressure was building, and Linda started to crack. She called an emergency board meeting, pushing a bylaw to give herself unchecked power to issue emergency violations. She even tried to collect copies of residents' driver's licenses, likely fishing for more personal info to exploit. When the HOA's online portal went down for maintenance, months of meeting minutes vanished. But Tom had already backed everything up, suspicious of Linda's sudden digital spring cleaning. The showdown came at the monthly HOA meeting, my first time attending. The community room buzzed with tension as Linda pitched a new schedule of steeper fines, her voice sharp and commanding. Halfway through, the door swung open, and 2 police officers strode in. The room fell dead silent. "Linda Harper," one officer said, his tone flat but firm, "we need to speak with you about an ongoing investigation into identity theft, fraud, and misuse of HOA funds." Linda's face went pale, her hands trembling as she gripped her notes. "This is a private meeting," she snapped, her voice cracking. "You can't just barge in with baseless accusations." The officer placed a thick folder on the table, his eyes locked on hers. "We have EVY Denke. You used Jacob Miller's identity to create a fake board position, issued unauthorized fines, and siphoned at least $7,000 for personal expenses." Gasps, "Ripple immunity," she shouted, her voice shrill. "Do you know how many violations go unpunished?" Someone had to step up. "Everything I did was for Pine, VYEW." As the officers cuffed her and read her rights, her gaze found me across the room. "You," she hissed, venom dripping from every word. "You think you're so smart with your cameras and computers. You have no clue what it takes to keep this place perfect." The room watched, stunned, as she was let out, still ranting about property values and unauthorized ferns. An officer stayed behind, explaining to the shell-shock board that Linda had orchestrated an elaborate scheme, using my identity to issue fake fines and skimming the penalties for her own landscaping and a La VYSH Bermuda vacation. 3 weeks later, the HOA notified me that all my fines were dismissed, and the doula $300 I'd paid would be refunded. Linda faced charges of identity theft, fraud, forgery, and embezzlement. With a mountain of EVY Denke, she was sentenced to 18 months in prison and ordered to pay doula $20,000 in restitution to the HOA and residents. In court, her polished facade shattered. "This is outrageous," she screamed as the verdict was read. "I gave 8 years to this community. I raised property values by 30 Fantram. I'm a VY Tim here." Even as she was led away, still proclaiming her innocence, I couldn't shake the thought. Some people, given even a sliver of power, will never stop VYing more. The dust settled, and Pine VYEW felt quieter, like the air after a storm. But I kept wondering, how far would Linda have gone if I hadn't caught her? What do you think? Could someone like her ever believe they're wrong, or are they too far gone? Have you ever dealt with a power-hungry neighbor or HOA tyrant? Drop your stories below, hit that like button if this blew your mind, and subscribe for more wild tales. Let's keep this conversation going. What's the pettiest thing an HOA has ever fined you for?